Welcome back to another episode of the Kinjaz podcast, Movement in the Shadows. Today, we have very, very, very special guest. We have Konishi in the spot. Guys, if you don't notice, we're not at the dojo. We're in a new spot. We are at the Kinjaz complex. This is the first ever pod that we're hosting here. This is normally not going to be the setup. We're figuring things out. We have our launch party weekend happening this Saturday, and there's a lot of construction going on, so you guys might hear some crazy stuff. Our podcast room is still being built out, but we improvise. We're here.
Make it work.
But Hawk, thank you so much for coming through, man.
Thank you so much for having me here.
Of course, been trying to get you in here for a minute. For those of you who may not know who Hawk is, he is a dancer and Emmy Award-winning choreographer, movement designer. So You Think You Can Dance seasons 1, 2, and 3. That's tight. Winner of ABDC season 3 with Quest Crew.
Yeah.
And co-founder of Axism.
Yeah.
Welcome, man.
Hello.
Welcome. So as I was kind of telling you before we started rolling, Movement in the Shadows is what we call this show. And it's basically your story of how you have gotten to where you're at. So I think with a lot of the stuff that we see on social media, everything's very short sound bites and quick little interviews. And a lot of, the people who may want to know what your creative process is like, to how you find inspiration, what do you do when you're not inspired, like all those things, your mentality towards business, all of those things is kind of what we cover in this show.
Sure.
So we always start with the origin stories. We always start at the ground zero.
Okay.
So give us a little bit of where you grew up.
Yeah.
All of that.
All right. So like real origin, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So some might know, but I've had a very sort of interesting upbringing, I would say. Mm-hmm. It wasn't really interesting in that like a unique way for me growing up, because no matter how different you are, that's just your normal way of growing up.
Right.
And so basically I was born in Japan. And then when I was 3, my whole family moved to England, to a tiny little village close to Oxford. And I went there to just like a public school. Everyone is just English, white English, Christian. Went to Christian school. And then at 12, we all moved back to Tokyo. And then I went to a public school there too. So junior high, high school, and first year of uni, I did that in Tokyo. And then when I was 20, I decided to do like a foreign exchange program. And then I came out here. And originally I was only supposed to do 2 semesters and go back to Japan. But I didn't really like the educational system in Japan, in the university. It's really hard to get in, but once you're in, you don't really have to do anything for 4 years and you can graduate. I just thought that was such a waste of money, waste of time. So basically after that and seeing what it's like out here, I quit my school in Japan and then I transferred over here. And then I actually just went to a community college after I actually moved over here, and I was going to go to UCLA. Okay. I don't know why it was UCLA, but I just had like an idea that it's a prestigious school and it's massive,
It's a great school, yeah.
But then the more I looked into the arts program, because that's what I was doing at the time, I don't know if it was the strongest or if it was what I was wanting at that point. So I started looking at like Otis and Art Center and just the art schools, the top of the top. And then that was actually right around when So You Think came around, kind of before it was even So You Think. And then I'm sure, Ryan talked about it when he came on, but he made it the first season. And he's really, one of my best mates. So seeing someone really close to me take that path, it was like, oh, didn't know that was possible. So it came down to either transferring to an art school and doing that full time or taking dancing. It was really tough because, you're really blind. You have no idea. And,
Can I rewind it though?
Yeah.
Like, we're already in the fact that you're dancing. Like, were you already dancing as a kid?
No, not at all.
So you picked it up later in life?
Yeah, right before high school, I would say.
Got you.
Around 15, 16, I just saw it on TV. And I definitely did not grow up with dancing or hip hop or any street culture around. It was almost the opposite. Like, think of the opposite of hip hop. It was like we would, I would do pottery, horse riding, violin, classical music, that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Very artsy, regal sort of arts. Yeah. And in my mind.
That's just what it was, you know, what the things were around. So when I saw dancing on TV, it was just like, it was a massive shock, you know. It was like, what is this? Where has this been my entire life? And then I just got really sucked into it.
And were you trained by anybody when you decided you want to get into or train more in hip hop and stuff like that? Was there teachers and stuff that were around your environment to teach you?
In the very, very beginning, I think for the first year, I didn't know any dancers around. I didn't know about studios or anything. So I would just watch the TV, you know, record it on the VCR, rewind it, just watch it, try to mimic it for a year. And then I think a year after that, somehow I figured out there was a studio close by. And so I decided to go the next day, and they told me that I think I just wanted to take whatever class was the next day. I just wanted to jump right into it. And they told me that they only had a locking class for the next day. And to me, I didn't know the difference between hip hop and house and locking back then. So I was like, okay, I'll do it. And then that's how I kind of got into it. And I went to a studio for the first 2 years, but then I kind of started, you know, making more and more dance friends, and I started to think, you know, rather than paying for the train money and the class money, what if we just get together and then practice, and then you can get more out of it, kind of thing. So I think after that we just kind of did it on our own, and I think that's kind of really nice to create stuff on your own, really. It took me such a long time to understand the difference between a dancer and a choreographer, because I think the way we started was you had to do both. Right. You know, there wasn't just to hand it to you, you know. I mean, there kind of was, but if you wanted to advance yourself, you just had to create on your own, you know. And in the battle scene too, it's just, that's the only way to go. It's not even an option, you know. Right.
And for college or like, what were you studying?
I did performing arts the first year, and I wanted to learn more about the theater, musical acting and stuff. But then I didn't really get along with the students around me back in Japan. And I don't know, I just felt like it was not my place to be, I would say.
So you already had an artistic vision of you wanted to do something in the performing arts. You didn't know that it was dance until later.
Yeah, I honestly don't know why I went into performing arts. I think I liked what that world had to offer.
Were your parents artistic at all, or?
They both did I think acting in university. They liked musicals. Yeah. Professionally, completely different. Yeah. But yeah, I think I've always sort of fond been that world, I would say. But then, after that, I transferred to graphic design. Did that for a year. Learned some stuff, but again, I don't know. I feel like it wasn't like the full fit. And I think when I started doing stuff with the Quest guys and all that felt more like myself. Right. In whatever that is or was. Yeah. So I feel like I've always been fond of just artistic beauty, creativity, craftsmanship. Yeah. So and even till this day, I feel like it's constantly changing. So it's really hard to define what that actually is.
So you're in college. You came out here when you said you were 20.
Yes, 20.
20, but you were on just like a tourist visa, or was it a student visa?
Just a student visa at first.
And then, so you think was going on around that time, and you were already friends with Ryan, or how did you guys?
Yeah. I actually met him at a jam. I went to enter like a 2-on-2 back then, and then I think a couple weeks before that battle, I met his old crewmate that probably told me about that jam. Because information was pretty limited back then. Yeah. And then, we went, and then kind of instantly clicked. And he started inviting me to his practices. And I think that around then, that was when Ryan and Eris joined six step, like
Six step, yeah.
It was like an introduction to the collegiate scene.
Right.
So yeah, I was really new to it too, and we just started hanging out and just practicing, and just always hanging out, really.
Yeah. So did you actually do seasons 1, 2, and 3, or okay?
Well,
as a contestant, or
as a contestant, yeah.
okay.
I tried out first season, and I sucked at picking up choreo, so I got cut.
Yeah.
Season 2, I made it all the way to the end.
Yeah.
And I guess if you look at it now, TV wise, it was a great story.
Yeah.
But back then, you don't understand that at all. You're just a contestant and you're just competing.
Yeah.
And I just had a student visa, so I got picked for the top 20. But then after that, they found out about my visa, so they had to cut me. And oh god, I felt so good. I hated it. I was so furious.
Yeah.
And because I had to see that they had to bring someone that they already cut. So it was
to take your place?
Yeah, to take my place. And I was like, oh no. So I think that actually really burned a fire inside of me. And I think that was when I realized that, dance was something that I wanted to do that bad. So I studied really, really hard so I can get my, I think if you get an associate's degree, you can work within your field for 1 year.
Yeah.
So I just crammed all my classes in just so I can get that, so I can try out the next season. And I think I got very lucky with the timing. And it kind of, one thing kind of led to the next. And got very fortunate with having amazing people around me.
I think the first time I met you, I think I've told you this story before. It was a random Kaba house party. And then, you showed up, we're obviously, we're all stupid in college, but we're very territorial, who's this new guy at our party, right? And then there was just these ciphers going on. I think Mike was there, Mike's song was there. And then there ended up it was at first it was just like a cipher. Everyone was just kind of going in, and then it felt like, wait, I think we're battling right now. And you came out and you had all these tricks, and we're like, yo, what is going on right now? Who is this guy? God. But it's so funny because that must have been it had to have been at least the first, at least few times you were out here, or the beginning time of you being in LA, right?
Yeah, I think that's probably the first year and being introduced to the scene and the people out here, and I feel like that was the language, that was the only.
Totally. No, 100%. And not even in a way where it was a bad thing. If anything, it's amazing because, from the perspective of somebody who is so excited and in love with this art form that essentially made you fly across the globe to be here to pursue it. And then, being introduced to the collegiate scene, because obviously Cabo Modern was a collegiate scene, and so I'm sure you're taking everything in all at once, and the cultural side of it being this house party, and there's this vibe, and it's yo, we're battling, and in your mind you're probably this is awesome. This is what I came out here to do. You know what I mean?
I'm sure I was just so hungry.
It's
a stray dog. It was it would bite onto anything, and
for sure.
I feel back then too, because I loved battling and ciphers and jams and stuff, and I think that was honestly the best way to. It was a language. It was just to communicate, and it was I can meet you and talk to you, but it didn't really matter until you actually showed each other what you do
for sure
on the dance floor, kind of thing. You know? So I think that was just my way of trying to express my existence there, because I also knew that I was sort of new in the scene and the country, so I felt the need to kind of show them that I'm here, kind of thing. Yeah. So
you think season 3 was that kind of the furthest you got in the show, or would you get farther in season 2? How was that?
Season 3, I got to make it on the show, and then actually, very, very fortunately, one of the pieces I got to dance on the show won an Emmy that next year, which was kind of crazy because I feel it was very, very early stage in my career that I don't know. I feel I couldn't understand that something that I was a part of could be on that level.
Right.
But I think it also opened up my eyes to different possibilities, and it's just it's kind of stuck in your head, and you'll think you can't achieve it if you think that, you know. But then if you see the possibility, it's like, oh, maybe it's a choice. You can do that.
Yeah. And were you a part of Six Step? Was that like already like your guys' crew at the time when you guys were on? So
yeah. So I think they formed. Actually, I have no idea how long they had been together before we joined. But yeah, I didn't really have a crew out here, so it was just a perfect, you know, place to practice and showcase and stuff. So I think it was maybe a year before or a couple months before we did So You Think. So we had already been doing shows and stuff. And then, So You Think was very nice. They kind of offered, I think when I didn't make it on the show, they were able to bring the other guys to showcase, you know, at least the troupe on the show. And then later on too, after we formed Quest, we were able to come back on the show as guest performances and stuff too. So definitely appreciate the existence of that show, because I feel like for a lot of us, actually, that was literally the beginning of our careers.
Yeah, I mean, when we talk about the evolution of the dance TV show, I think probably, at least from our generation, So You Think, has been still the longest running TV show for dance on that individual contestant level. And then like Wade Robson's project kind of happened around that time.
Right.
It was like Dance 360 that had its small little run.
I remember I emailed them when I first came. I told them I wanted to be on the show. No reply. I was like, damn it.
I somehow got on the show.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was so fun.
So
Man, that's
jealous.
actually, let's delete that. We don't want to go down that road. But I mean, you know, from there, and then, you know, obviously ABDC rolls around, and that was kind of like this resurgent, but it was a different flavor of a TV show for dance, because it wasn't solo contestants. It was crews. And that somehow became this phenomenon at the time, because I think, I don't know, somehow in the mainstream world, they don't know that this scene exists. But from where we're at, we're like, it's been around forever, you know? and you know, from the collegiate teams, you know, Kaba Modern was on there from like to Jabberwocks. I'm talking like season 1. And then, but I know that I learned from Ryan that Quest had auditioned for season 1 also. And so we could have, you know, been on the same season. But tell us a little bit about how you transitioned from like the Six Step experience to how Quest Crew formed, and then how you guys decided to like go for ABDC and all that.
I think Six Step to Quest Crew transition was it was kind of just an extension, I would say. You know, just like any crew or groups, you know, there's bound to be problems, and I feel like with the Six Step one, it was just past the line, and it wasn't somewhere I wanted to no longer be at. So myself and Ryan decided to leave, you know, and then I think the people that we were close to decided to come with us. And it wasn't really like, hey, we'll leave and we'll take all these guys. It kind of just naturally happened that way. And I think around that time too, one of the guys that produced So You Think, he was working on ABDC, and before it was even aired, he kind of called us and told us about this new show that might be popping up, and we said that we were interested, and it really, I think the rise of the TV show from So You Think to ABDC really kind of matched with how we were going to. It really wasn't forced, and it wasn't like, oh, we have a week or two, we have to make a crew together to make it look real on the show. It was like, no, it actually existed, and it just kind of, the stars aligned. So I think again, we got really lucky with timing, and I mean, obviously a lot of hard work too. For sure. But I feel like in terms of the chance and the luck and timing, oh God, we've been so lucky with that. You obviously didn't form Quest for the show, but after the show happened, you guys won. Like a lot of just
amazing opportunities kind of fell into your guys' circle, and I obviously saw stuff together with Quest Crew, and then I see, you know, individual people or like the individual sort of hustles kind of popping off there too. What was that like for you guys as a crew, especially, you know, to win such a prestigious show for crews at the time, you know, because there really wasn't anything like that around. And was that tough for you guys to feel like, okay, now what do we do? Like, are we going to like stick together and do everything just together? Or is there a space to kind of, you know, pursue our individual dreams? Like, how did you guys kind of handle that?
I think, obviously, I can't speak in behalf of everyone, but I know myself personally, I definitely get bored really easily. So if I do something here, I'm not going to get the same adrenaline rush doing the same thing. So it's like, okay, done this. Now what's next? And I feel like that excitement and that curiosity is my strongest weapon.
Got it.
Take that away from me, you know, I'm really not a good asset, really, truthfully.
Yeah.
But if I find that little curiosity, I will go further than anyone that I know, you know, and I feel like that's just how I operate, as what my passion is. And I think with the crew and stuff, there was a point, I can't remember when, but I started questioning my own ability on, because at that point in my career, over half of the stuff has been with the crew, you know? So I started thinking, okay, am I able to have a successful career because I have something to offer, or am I just around people that happen to be very talented? And I really didn't know. And I just thought the only way to prove that is to do something without those ingredients, a brand new set of ingredients, and still make something good. And that's the first time that you can actually prove that, hey, you might have something. So I think my curiosity towards that grew and grew and grew. And that's why I started to try to do more projects as myself, not putting the name on it. And I think I was able to do a good enough amount of stuff that I was able to sort of balance my inner self to, you know, tell myself that, oh, it wasn't just luck and it wasn't just the people around. I think I have something to offer the world. So it's at a very nice balance right now, I would say.
Have you always been somebody to like do things on your own? Like, was that a part of your childhood too, or were you like kind of associated with a team of people?
No, actually, you know what? That's not perfect. I was just at my parents'. I was back in Japan for 3 weeks, so had a good amount of time to dig through old pictures. And then I found a picture of how I grew up. And then
that's awesome.
This, I think in one picture, it would describe... Okay, so you can probably spot me even from this size, but...
Okay, wow, all right. We're looking at a giant, looks like a school photo.
Yeah, and then...
Everyone's wearing red. Let me see if I can spot...
It's crazy, right?
We gotta pull this
it's
up.
Like one dead pixel.
That's, oh my goodness, that's so good. Yeah, you stick out.
Yeah. So I feel like that one picture single-handedly explains...
We will put this into the show somehow. You're gonna have to send me that photo.
Upbringing.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
okay.
So I think from a very early stage, I was different from my surroundings, and not necessarily by choice. That's just how it was, you know. And it's it was interesting when I would hear the Asian American struggles out here too, because I definitely understand that side, but what I grew up was very different too. You know, I feel like for myself, there wasn't enough of us to say we are blah, blah, blah.
Sure.
Like, it was just myself and my sister, you know? And more than, like in primary school and stuff, I would get made fun. Not that I'm Asian, but I was just dark. So...
Interesting.
Yeah, it was just like... And the thing is, you can't do anything about it. And it's not like there's 10 of you around to stand up for it. That doesn't even exist. So all you can do at that point is to just accept,
Wow. Okay. Like, so I'm very interested in this because, obviously racism and all that stuff is still around to this day, unfortunately. And then, it comes out in different ways and people's experiences are very unique. For myself, I grew up in an area, I grew up in the San Fernando Valley, which is not too far from here, pretty diverse. I would say you'd pretty much have like a good group of people that all look pretty much the same. And then you kind of figure out how you want to click with one group over the other. And it's weird how that naturally happens. So for somebody like yourself, who you say that not only were you Asian, but it was the fact that you were just darker than everyone. Yeah. So was there alienation in terms of the way that the kids would treat you?
I think it could have been worse. It could have definitely been worse. I think it was not as bad because it was a tiny village.
Got it.
And I feel like a lot of racism comes from ignorance, obviously. Sure. But I feel like it was even past that point that it was like, oh, we have no idea how to treat this guy. So it doesn't even.
So did they treat you okay? Or
yeah, I think I had a good enough amount of people that treated me kind of the same as them. Wow. But I think that it's almost because there wasn't a lot of us.
Got
either
it.
It was just myself, so it was like, okay, it's fine kind of thing. But what was actually really interesting was that I don't know if it was more shocking when I went back to Japan when I was 12, because obviously you understand that you're somewhat different from around, but you don't fully understand why or what, and you're young, you're a kid. And then when I went back to Japan, I thought that feeling would completely go away because technically blood
you're
was
around everyone
Japanese,
that looks like you, yeah.
But the thing is, at that point, I was 100% sort of English inside.
Right.
So when I went to school in Japan, everyone would treat me differently, saying that I'm an outsider. So I was like, wait, I thought this was like,
something's
ground.
Backwards here.
It's like, what's happening?
Yeah.
And
wow.
Yeah, but I'm actually really glad that I went through that. And it wasn't until I moved to LA and I actually, witnessed the different cultures, races, languages, beliefs, religion, that was the first time that I was like, oh, I wasn't wrong. It was just different and it was my way, but it wasn't wrong, because I feel like it's really hard to not to think that you're wrong when 99 is around you is different. Sure. And there's nothing you can do about it, and then you go to the other side and then it's still that in a different way, but I think because of that, I was able to pick up at a very early stage to see things from the other side, and I don't know if there's an ultimate truth to it, but the way I see it is when you look at something, it's not right and wrong. It's right and right. You're just seeing it from different angles,
Sure.
Yeah. And I think that actually helped me the most in my career. And I think I got lucky that I'm able to be in a creative bubble that, it's like, because I think it's so much easier to define something as right and wrong. It's just less brain power. It's right away.
Right.
But if you actually really dig in and try to, dive deeper into the perspective, why you think that way, the psychology behind it, there's just so many different angles, and I think I'm really interested in that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of my upbringing has to do with that too.
I find it to be interesting, and you can jump in anywhere, but I think when as kids, you are essentially, you're kind of forced to grow up wherever you grew up. You didn't choose, you didn't be like, hey, I want to live here. I want to be surrounded by these people. You're just there and you are surrounded by who you're surrounded by. And then the environment can affect you in so many ways, and not all the time, but sometimes at least can make you respond aggressively or, get angry at the situations, like, why am I so different, or why am I being treated this way? I didn't choose to be this and that. but at least from the way that you're talking about it, I'm not getting that impression from you where you're looking at it as like, this is unfair and I hate it, but you're just like, wow, this is interesting. Like there's so many ways that I can like learn about you, and I'm, you know, I went from here to there, and when I went to this place, which I would have thought was my motherland that would embrace me, they're looking at me like I'm different, like, wow, this is interesting, like, you know what I mean? So but I mean, going back to even what you said earlier about, you know, you having this curiosity that, you know, will make you feel like, okay, once something is this way, I'm so curious to see how it can be different, or how I can find the right or the yes in the situation, which I think is probably a big testament to even the way that you create, because like I want to dive into that too, because I feel like the way, even from, you know, seeing the progression of the first time I saw you battle at the Cabo Modern House to, you know, seeing you on So You Think, and then seeing you with Quest, and then, you know, fast forward to Axism, to all the other things that, like, I mean, I was just, you know, creeping on your Instagram just last night. I was like, this guy's videos. I was looking at your 2019 highlight reel thing. I was just like, man, like you're all over the place in the way that you, like the way that your mind works is so unconventional, yet it's so digestible. Like it's so out there that you're like, I know it's out there, but I'm going to just spin it back and I'm going to put something together, and the entertainment value of it is just through the roof.
Unconventional, yet digestible.
But yeah, like,
I like that.
And I want to get into that too, because like I think, you know, I think it's got to be that your curious nature, to like not. It's almost as if you're not interested in the no. You're interested in the yes. You're interested in the what are the possibilities? Like what else could we do with this thing? And what else can I find? What other angle can I look at this at? You know, and
100%.
and it just seems like that's kind of the because even your energy of like you're always wanting to. I mean, you're very engaging, you know what I mean? Like, and even from your own personal style, like there is something just so unique about like, dude, Hawk is just one of one. You know what I mean? There's only one of those, that guy. Man. And like, you know, yeah, you look Japanese, but you have a British accent.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It's like what
I'm
is
confused, but it's amazing. You know what I mean? Like,
I think at a very early point, I had given up on trying to figure out what's normal, because I think I understood that wasn't my path, and it doesn't really help me at all, that information, just with the environment I had lived in. And that's not to say it won't for other people. I'm sure it will for most people, you know. But I think, there wasn't, going back to what you said, you know, rather than being bitter about the past and everything, sure, you can do that, but it's an option, you know, like you have the power to do it, you know. And I just didn't think it would be that beneficial for me to be bitter about something you can't change, you know, for however many more years that we can live. So, and the thing is, I think in terms of my upbringing being different and stuff, sure, if I focus on me being like Asian, Japanese, brown, whatever, that's the case. But let's say if you can draw really good, and if that identity speaks louder than how you look, you're not going to be the Japanese kid. You're going to be, that kid that can draw really well. If you can sing really well, if you can run really fast, if you're good at football, whatever is the loudest identity you have, that will become your explanation. So I would say it's so easy and it to, you know, look negatively and say, it's because of this. And that might be true, but I really want to, you know, advise people to be like, hey, maybe you can push a little bit harder so you can have a different trait that actually speaks louder than whatever you're being made fun of, you know. And it's not easy, you know, but I never think easy is the best option either. You know, you have to fight for it. You have to work hard for it. But just knowing that possibility is there, I feel like is great, because you can actually really mold your reality to however you want it. You know?
Do you think like your, I guess, passion for pursuing whatever artistic venture it may be, whether it was graphic design or dance, but like, do you think any part of that was fueled by the fact that you felt like you were different, that you kind of felt like I need to excel in something so that I'm not going to be identified by my by my appearance, or you know what I mean? Do you feel like any part of that your artistic passion is fueled by that?
Maybe it's in my subconscious, but I feel like it's not that big of a thing that it's like, sure, if it is, it is. If it's both my grandparents painted, so if it's just a genetic thing, sure. Or maybe it's just a fluke, maybe. It's certain things I have no control. I don't know. I just kind of try to follow what I have control over.
So when it comes to things like, because you do a lot of things that are very visually, I mean, for lack of a better way to put it, like illusionary sort of things, things that play with your mind and perspective. And, I was looking at your video with your eyes going like, I was like, how the hell do you even think to do that? Like the split screen thing. So, when it comes to creation, right? And it seems like, I would imagine you play a lot. And a lot of it comes from doing something that makes you laugh to be I want to keep, pulling at this thread to see where we go. What is your creative process like when you decide that you want to make something?
So I think the very start is one thing I can say that I have is I constantly have a radar for anything that's interesting to me. Whether I'm asleep, I'm awake, whatever I'm doing, that's always there. And if I see it or sense it with anything, I would try to pick that up. And then rather than ending it there, I would try to take it apart and decode and see why that was interesting, why that was different from something else. And then if you can figure that out, then you can try to use that method with whatever you do. And then in essence, you can replicate or do a different version of whatever you took. And it's so wide. It could be a dance performance, but I feel like I take the least from the closest things. So it will be like, this bitterness of this spice went really well with this salmon. I'd never seen it in that combination. Why did that trigger something interesting? Maybe it's usually lemon or lime, but if it was a different kind of herb that you wouldn't mix together, it does something. Now, if I can do that with a different sense, it could be visual or audio, it might do the same thing in a different way, or it could literally be how the light's hitting the floor right here. You never noticed it, but it's like, something about that shape is really beautiful. What is it? And then you start to realize, because a lot of it is psychology, and it's like, this is a thing I see every single day, so you're used to it. But when it's with a different light or a different shape, you see it differently. So how can I do that to, let's say, movement? It could be like walking or sitting down or everyday movement that everyone's used to. You add a little spice to it, it seems amazing, kind of thing.
Wow. I'm tracking with you, and I'm seeing you paint me a verbal picture. Like you're saying the words, you're pointing at something, and the way that you describe it is like taking something that you almost take for granted because it's so quote unquote normal. You see it all the time. You twist something, you put a different element to it, and it becomes brand new. And it becomes, but it's brand new in a very like, I know what that is because I normally see it, but that little twist makes me look at it differently. And I find something entertaining about it, or just at least intriguing, you know what I mean? And that's so cool. Because I mean, even the way that we've all seen beautiful sunsets, but we've seen those sunsets where the sun is slightly different, the clouds are slightly different, where it looks like the sky is on fire. But it's like, we just know that's the sun and the clouds, but it's something different about the elements. Maybe there's a freaking smog in the air that makes it look a different color, but it's that thing that's very normal, but you just put a different element to it and makes you perceive it so differently.
I definitely, so I go in that depth of why I feel that way. I think that's where it really starts, because I am just genuinely curious of why I can think that way.
Yeah.
And I think everyone has that to a certain extent. And it's like, you don't appreciate your health until you get sick.
Right.
When you get sick, that's the first time you're like, oh God, to be able to wake up and just go get a glass of water, that natural thing is so amazing. And I think it's creating that before it happens on many different ways. And if you can actually try to figure out what's going on in there, and then produce it and kind of stimulate other people, then I don't know. I feel like you're doing something at least good than bad. You know, it's as simple as that.
Yeah. So on the physical side of being able to bring something to life, because obviously there is a mental thing that's happening. So you've trained your mind to be able to, look at things in a different perspective, or, maybe flip something in terms of like, maybe if I try something like this in terms of how I look, or adding an element, that's a lot of it's a mental thing. Yeah. But then you're obviously an amazing mover, and there's a lot of technique and discipline that has to go into the way that you physically train your body to be able to execute whatever's up here in an effective way physically, so that you can marry the mentality to the physicality and do what you do. Right. How do you approach physical training when it comes to dance or just movement dynamics in general?
I think in terms of that, maybe it helped me that I didn't have that in my culture or my family. So the default line is you just have to work for it. Like, it's not going to come natural. So if it's one move, you just want to practice it over and over again until that amount that you've put in exceeds the amount it should take to get it. Because then once you put that work in, it's not a surprise. It should be granted that it will come now, So I feel like you just have to put in that work, and it's going to follow, is the mentality.
And there's got to be some level of enjoyment you're getting from the work, because to put so many grueling hours, I'm sure your body's going to be sore you got to stretch in ways that you, like the normal, person may not think they have to stretch, but it's got to be fun, right?
I think there is just that adrenaline you get when something works, or just that feeling, on stage. I think that in itself becomes just the reason why you would, put the work in. And as funny as this seems, and I don't think this mentality will work for everyone, but I think, and this is not just saying it, I don't know if I'm that good, to be honest. And I think it starts off with denying that for me. Like, you start off by thinking you have nothing to offer, so you have to do everything to prove yourself wrong. So I really envy the people that automatically they're just good and, just proud and everything, because I'm definitely not that. It's like, okay, I definitely suck and don't have anything, so I have to work harder and do everything more than everyone else to make sure that I'm not that loser. And I think the good side of that is that it keeps your engine running, because you're never going to be good enough ever. It doesn't matter about TV shows or titles or nothing. It's because it's inside of you. And even if you accomplish this, you're never going to look back at that. It'll be like, okay, cool, but I haven't done that yet, so I'm going to do that. And you're always chasing. So that engine of creativity keeps running, so it's good. But the bad side is you're never going to be good. Like, you're always, because the mentality hasn't. It's probably not that much different from when I first started, I would say.
Interesting.
It's like, sure, moves and accomplishments and stuff I've done have changed, but that's kind of little details, I would say.
When you say that, it doesn't matter what you've accomplished or what shows you've done or this and that, the awards and all those things, and it seems like you're propelled, like you're pulled by something like this almost elusive, like I'm never gonna achieve it.
Yeah.
Though I'm always reaching for it, whatever that it is.
Right.
How would you define that? Like in terms of like, I mean, I want to get to the topic of success a little bit later, but like what is the thing that you feel like you're constantly going? Is it just the constant wanting to be curious and have that, you know, achieved? And then what else am I curious? Is that like always that, or what do you feel like that is?
There probably is some deep seed of fear towards, if I do that, I'm going to be satisfied and not keep going, you know? And it's just like what we talked about earlier. There's different ways of seeing it. Like with this condition, you could see it as, oh, that's not healthy because you're always going to be unhappy and you're always going to seem like not enough. Yeah, I agree. That's correct. But you could always also see it as there's going to be a ongoing fuel for the rest of your life. And I see that as a great thing, you know, because I just want a moment to maybe right before I die, I could just be like, oh, wasn't that bad? Done. The end, you know? But I feel like the scarier thing for me is to just be satisfied and not do anything, you know? Because I feel like, and you get so comfortable and that becomes a norm, you know? Whereas I would rather stand on the other side, and it doesn't have to be the most comfortable. It doesn't have to be the warmest water. But if you can keep pushing a little bit, just a millimeter by millimeter of what us humans could actually do, I think that's a closer version of happiness to me.
When you said that you pull the least from the things that are closest to you, which I would imagine like so you're not really watching dance to be inspired to dance,
right?
What sort of things do you find the most inspiration from? Are you a reader? Are you a movie guy? Like what sort of things do you pull a lot from?
God, like I said, it will be from architect to design, movie. I do like children's books.
Okay.
I think a lot of it comes from psychology. I'm very curious of, you know, when something is great, not really focusing on the greatness, but more focusing on why we would perceive it as great. And I'm really curious of that side. And I think with children's books too, the good ones are really good at poking the right stuff in a minimal way, you know?
Yeah.
And to think that certain lessons in that book will last that person for a lifetime,
right?
Whether it be conscious or subconscious. It's and I feel like not everyone can do that, and there's a certain way of doing it. So I do like to read those kind of things.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You know, it's so funny that you said children's books, because I'm sitting here like just hearing you talk and the things that you're saying, and I'm sitting across from you, I'm looking at you, and I just keep the image in my head. I keep getting Willy Wonka keeps popping in my head, and then this was before you even said children's books, but I feel like there's, you know. And I mean this in the best way. I hope you're not offended, because I freaking love Willy Wonka. I grew up on that movie, and I think he's one of the greatest characters of all time. But the way that guy creates, I mean, he's making all the best candies in the world. And he talks about pure imagination, right? Like if you can imagine something, you're limitless. And his factory is like all kinds of crazy, like lickable wallpapers and everlasting gobstoppers, and you know what I mean? Like he's a kid at heart that never lets his curiosity, I think, be limited. You know what I mean? And I think the way that you're even, you know, you're talking about how you're just going to be surrounded by the things, or the things that surround you, you'll find something, because there's like a limitless pool around you for things for you to be inspired by. So, I mean, children's books makes a lot of sense.
Really does, I mean, I feel like it's just, and it's up to you to find that, you know? I feel like, because there's so much research, especially with the internet now too. there's unlimited literally amount of resources, and I think it is a little hard because there is so much. So sometimes you have to kind of minimalize it and just focus on just this remote control or just this table. But then when you do that, you get to see it and then you can apply it. And then slowly, I feel like you get to kind of expand your own universe.
Are you a routine oriented person? Do you have like daily discipline things that you, from the morning that you wake up, you're always doing this, and this, and at least whatever else?
I hadn't been until I started working out for the first time, like regimentally. I think it's age. But
a lot of times that'll do it, man.
End of last year, I started, and I was never a morning person. I don't know if I still am, but lately I've been waking up at like 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning.
I would say that's a morning person.
to do like a workout kind of thing, and.
You go right into workout? Because I'm trying to get to that 5:30 a.m. club. I'm like, dang, if I wake up and I do anything other than be like to wake myself up, I'll probably fall back asleep. So I'm kind of wondering what the best routine is.
No, I think, well, the thing is, I think it had more effect when I first started.
Okay.
Because it was just a rush of adrenaline. Yeah. I liked it because it wasn't like, oh, I work out and then I'm just tired. Right. It was like, oh, I worked out. Oh, I did this thing, so I might as well just answer all my emails. Right. I did this, so I might as well just clean all the walls and do this, So I feel like in any kind of way that you can keep that momentum going, I think must be a positive thing. And I have a feeling it can't be exactly the same too, because once that your body and your mind get used to that, you're not going to get the same effect of it. So I feel like you need to keep tweaking the system slightly, So I think in my adult age life, having that is fun. Yeah. But in terms of having a completely steady pace, I don't know if that's too necessary, maybe for my lifestyle. I think to a certain degree, definitely. But I do love random adventures. No, I think you're right on it with, it depends on the person, because I think there are people who are very creatures of habit and they don't need any change. Like I know people who eat the same food every day, but they love it because I don't have to think about what I'm going to eat today, because it's the same. I feel you. I'm just like, I got to switch it up. It's getting a little boring, and like, even for myself too, my routines, whether it's like what I'm doing in a workout to what time of day I'm working out to whatever it is, right? And then, how I find inspiration or how I feed my mind and all those things. I think I'm constantly knowing that I still have to hit those categories, but they can be hit in different ways, you know, and stuff like that. So I think it's good to at least know, what type of person you are, to know which system works for you, and then find the randomness or the variety that you want to inject into it as you go. I think when there's like a set goal or a certain technique you're trying to achieve, then scheduled, regimented stuff definitely helps. Because I feel like it can't be so random. You have to do that. And I think it works on that side. But life-wise, I think it's not all just that. Or at least I want to think that we actually are fortunate enough to have the liberty of having that choice, because I feel like for a lot of people that might not be the case, So I definitely feel blessed that to even have that option is a blessing.
I love that.
I
want to talk a little bit about Axism. When I saw, the introduction to Axism, with like a series of videos that you guys dropped, and it was definitely like, of course they would do this, and especially the guys. So, between you, Philip and Moon, right? And like, I don't know what else to call it other than like visual math, like, you know what I mean? Like, because it's just, from the shapes and the angles to the flow of it. I talked to Dietrich about it. I forgot the term that he used, but it's like that game Mousetrap. A ball travels this way, it lands in this little cup, and it launches, it activates something else to spin around. And
what was that called? Rube Goldberg machine.
Yeah, something like that. And I think just like seeing the just the creation of what you guys create, man, it's mind blowing, bro. And you know, and like I know that there's so much that can be done with it. Can you talk a little bit about what motivated you guys to create that, and even like where that's at now?
Yeah, I think the way it started was we just had a genuine like a general curiosity towards that stuff, and I think all of us, it started from kind of like the pop-in animation tutting stuff and what you would express within that world, you know. And I feel like at least with animation and stuff, there was a lot of cause and effect stuff. You know, so you hit it so the wave starts, or like you do this and the chest comes up. You know, there's a lot of that. So I think naturally we were just drawn to that kind of rule, and yeah, we just liked expanding. You know, stuff from way back Axism. I feel like it's like, hey, let's apply these to an iPad and see what we can do within that. And it was really hard to try to explain it to someone before it existed. So we're just like, well, let's just make stuff and then show it, you know. And I think it's still hard in terms of a lot of people don't know what to do with it. You know, it's like it comes a full circle when the directors and the producers understand that language too. So then it became to, why don't we just direct it and produce it ourselves?
Yeah.
You know? And we're actually finally working on creating some series stuff this year. We're not quite sure how it's going to come out to the world yet. But yeah, I think myself and Philip, we're always kind of studying on our own to expand what we have to offer to bring to the table. But yeah, I think it is kind of like you can't explain, or there's only so much you can explain to someone else, to someone that doesn't exist yet, and something that only exists in your brain. And there's actually a lot more of those, and I actually have such a bad habit of coming up with it and sort of being half satisfied because it's there already, because in my world it does exist. You know? But this year I'm trying to think that, hey, ideas are worth nothing, execution is worth everything. And I feel like I need to tell that to myself, because half of it is true, because unless you execute it and then until someone else can access it, it doesn't exist yet. You're just a crazy person on the street yelling to an imaginary person next to you. It's literally no different. It could be a crazy visual idea in the arena that's going to, you know, mesmerize tens and thousands of people there, but for as long as it's just in your brain, it's just crazy, you know. So you have to connect the dots and make it happen, and then if people can access it and actually experience it, then that's the first time I believe that it has value, or I'm trying to believe that.
And I think that's what you guys do so well, you know. Like I said, it's these seemingly just like off the wall sorts of like, how did you even think of it? And it's so complicated in its parts, but then when it put together so digestibly, like I understand, I don't know how you did it, but I see every aspect of it. And then, you know, you apply the musicality to it. So now I'm audibly getting all the, you know, sonically I'm understanding the sounds to the syncopation, and then I'm seeing the visuals, like, oh my gosh, the marriage of this, it's just incredible.
It's beautiful when that magic happens. And it's kind of crazy because it's almost like we're not creating anything. We're just sort of assisting everything that's already there. You're just poking, the existence and where it belongs, and then voila, it's like, oh wow, this is amazing.
But I mean, you are doing something.
It's where you draw the line, I think.
But I think it's also very fun, when you can't help but smile. I mean, obviously it's mind blowing. You're like, holy crap.
Yeah.
But you're like laughing and you're like smiling, and it's oh my gosh, this is great.
That feeling is just the best. And if you can share that, it's like, there you go.
That's awesome. So for you as an individual these days, what are some of your focuses, and what are you trying to kind of expand into?
Yeah, so last year I was able to put a piece up in an art gallery, and it's kind of a combination, I would say, of dance and art. It's like a in between. Don't really know how to explain it with words.
Sure.
But I felt like when I did that, it really fulfilled me, and I definitely want to do more of that type of expression. Monetarily, I haven't quite figured it out yet, because I feel like you can only do it when you have the luxury of time. But I think there is some kind of value and some sort of beauty to it that I think the other stuff is almost a little detail that should follow afterwards. But yeah,
you've already done this before. Like you've already put this in a gallery.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So it was I put the video form of it on my socials and stuff too. But it's basically a thing where I danced and I filmed it and I printed it and I cut sort of individual papers. Thousands and thousands.
Yeah, it was like on an easel. With,
yeah.
That was freaking wild, bro. Yeah.
The gallery side of that, I got to showcase the video.
Okay.
But I also made this little thing where you see all the frames, because I think when you see the video, it's like, oh, something's weird, but I don't quite get it.
Yeah,
but then when you see what it took to make it, you're like, oh wow, you know.
Yeah.
And and I think just that feeling and just by itself, it looked really beautiful too.
Wow.
Yeah, so I think it's difficult because it is sort of in an in-between world. It's not like, hey, here's a showcase, let's see where we can show it. It's very A to B straightforward.
Right.
This is a little bit more blurry, and but I feel like, it's something true to me, something that I can offer. I don't know where it's heading, but it's kind of really exciting. You know, when you first start dancing, it's like you have no idea of your career path, you know, with Jabber and Kinjaz, but something is exciting, you know, it has that kind of feeling, I would say. Yeah. So.
How old are you now?
I'm 35.
35, okay. And
good age.
It's great age. It's great. And you've been doing this professionally for how long would you say?
Dancing, maybe 15 years.
15 years. Okay.
If you don't count like the little teaching stuff before that.
But so the time where you felt like I'm seeking this as a career path.
Yeah.
So, you know, with that, pursuing anything artistic in the entertainment field, there's all kinds of, you know, instability, and, you know, there's like, you're always in some sense searching for your next job, right? And that's kind of the career path that we've chosen. You know, and then now that you're 35 and you're talking about things like health become more of a thing because you gotta, you know, I know you're trying to get your flexibility back. And I was watching those videos. I'm like, dang, okay, here we go. And knowing the way that you can be disciplined, like you're going to achieve the things that you set your mind to do. How do you balance the side of it where age is, you can't stop the clock. The clock's going to keep going and your body will keep aging. And then, you know, so there's this side of business or the longevity of the, you know, creative side will either have to take on a different form or evolve into something else. So how do you approach the I guess the natural evolution of this art and the side of it that being your livelihood and moving forward with that?
Yeah. I think I should probably be more cautious of that. I'm kind of living life and go on with the flow.
Sure.
But yeah, definitely. I think, you know, when we enter this age, you start thinking of just like how different ways of making money and how it could stretch when you're not doing the work and stuff. Right. So I feel like I'm always trying to study and always really curious of that side of how things work, because I feel like that's almost like an art form in itself.
Totally.
You know? Yeah. But in terms of age and health, I don't know if it's for good or bad, but I feel like, I mean, sure, certain details have changed, but it's not that different either, you know? And it is like, you're never, ever in your life going to have a perfect condition. It's always going to be about how you're going to play the cards that are given to you, you know? And actually, right at the beginning of my career, I got a herniated disc. So at that point, I was like, oh, wow, like this really, really, really sucks, you know? But you have to still try to go around and figure out how to make it work. You know, option A is to say, okay, this sucks. Everything's done now. Be sad. The end. But the other option is, okay, I can't use this, but what can I do with the thing I have? You know? And it was a really weird little moment, but coming back from the doctors, and I had the corset to, you know, fix my back, and then your posture is like this a little bit. And then it was really, I think I was just sad in that moment, but I would just look up because naturally your eye line just goes up a little bit. And I was like, this is going to sound so weird and artistic, but I was like, oh, the sky is beautiful, you know? And I really, at that point, thought that I wouldn't have realized how beautiful the sky was if I didn't hurt my back. And I think I made myself believe that, you know? But I also did understand that, oh, from here on, life is just going to be continuations of different versions of a herniated disc.
Wow.
You know, it's like, okay, you fancy a girl, you get dumped. It sucks. But what can you do there? You're late for rent, you can't pay it. Okay, but what do you do? You know, like, it's just you're always going to have limitations, you know? And it's just how you see it, I think. And it's your choice to be like, okay, I don't have 20 dancers, so I can't do it. Or you can be like, okay, I only have 3, but what can we do?
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
Because I think we tend to think that it's all, we have unlimited access, but us living on Earth and having gravity and all these things that we take for granted, that's also a limited thing too, you know, depending on how you think about it. So I think it's easier to think that you're always going to have restrictions, always. It's just going to be different versions until the day you die. So that's something you can't control. So let's focus on what we can control. It's
amazing.
My way of thinking.
It's great perspective, man. How would you define success?
Oh, heavy question.
Yeah, that's a big one.
How do you define success? Okay. I think it's close to impossible, but I think the closest thing you can do is if you're able to become the best version of yourself and the world around you. So instead of you versus everyone around you, if you guys are all on the same page, like Earth, everything in the galaxy, everything that's in it, that's like one team, right? And let's say there's a parallel universe that has the same ingredients but slightly different, and there's endless amounts of that. If you can be the best one amongst all of those, I think that's success.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So not just yourself included, but like your friends, your family, every existence around you. If you can somehow help it to become the best potential of what it could be, which, I mean, it's close to impossible. You can't, but still, I think trying to get close to that is probably the closest you can get to success.
Like synchronicity and congruence to what is around you and trying to sync everything together.
And I mean, why wouldn't you want yourself and those around you to try to be the best version.
Yeah.
You know, like there really isn't. If you really try to think about it, like how do you justify not doing that?
Yeah.
And then once you have that, it's like, okay, what can we do to do that?
Right.
And you can't really do any more than that. You know, like literally, that's all you can do, and then the rest is gonna form itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. I love that. I want to get into a quick little lightning round session. Okay. I'm going to fire off some questions.
Oh, let's see how I do.
Come off top. We'll start easy. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. What is your favorite color? Not so easy, I guess.
Not so easy. Right now, 2020 version of me, black.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'll take that. What's your favorite food?
Grilled eel on rice.
Nice.
Yes.
Unagi. What is your most memorable performance?
Oh, memorable performance.
Doesn't have to be your best performance, just the most memorable.
Probably one of the pieces we did on ABDC where we had this yellow bench.
Oh yeah.
That was a weird state. Yeah. I've never been that emotional on stage ever. Wow. Yeah.
Yep, I remember that one. Word, okay. The bench piece from ABDC. Yeah. What is your most embarrassing moment?
Oh, God. My most embarrassing moment. I feel like I've had so many of those. This isn't really a lightning answer.
Sure, just whatever's in your top of your head, man.
Oh, God. There's a lot. I would say... when because back then we used to tour with LMFAO,
yeah,
and then it's like half or mostly comedy, like Sexy Night Out. We're performing in speedos around the world, and this is when I first got together with my fiance, and we were just walking around Vegas. And there'll be these street performance artists, and there was this one guy with like golden speedos, and it's just like moving around. I was looking at that, laughing, saying, "Oh, those days." And she's like, "Oh, what do you mean?" I'm like, "Oh, the speedo guy." He's like, "Yeah, what about speedo?" And I'm like, "It's actually I know it." It's like, "Well, what?" I'm like, the song. It's like, "What? Wait, what song?" And I said, try to explain it. And it's like, "Oh, you've never seen the video?" She's like, "No, I've never seen the video." And I had assumed she had known all that. So I was like, oh, God.
So now you're like, I have to show her this
I have to show her.
Yeah.
And then I think I asked her, too. It's like, hey, do you want me to show it to you, or do you want to see it on your own? She's like, no, show me. And then I showed it, and I asked her, like, okay, was it not as bad as you thought, or was it worse? And she's like, it was worse. I was like, oh. You
should have like, wait, are you sure you love me? Is that, are we locked
in? We're together, right? Yeah. No, that was a pretty embarrassing moment.
Hey, that's good. That's good. What would you say is your proudest moment?
Proudest moment? It has to be one moment, doesn't it?
Whatever comes to your mind first.
Proudest moment. Maybe it's because it happened really recently when I got to propose. I think it's something you can be proud of. You know?
That's
just
probably that's probably the right answer after the last thing we just talked about. So it's locked in now.
You got this, and then you have that.
Yeah. Okay.
I think so. There's a lot though.
Yeah,
I mean,
of course. Yeah.
Within the Emmys, I feel like that too.
Yeah,
it's just
incredible.
Different things, in life. But I think it doesn't help that I try to find everything in every day either, because honestly, going back and seeing my parents, that by itself, it's to be able to live and converse with them, like that's amazing.
Yeah. It's incredible. I love it. If you had a dream opportunity, something that you would love the opportunity to do, what would that be?
I don't know exactly how, but Like the little patterns and visual stuff that you'd see in my videos and stuff.
Yeah.
If I can do that with like stars in the galaxy.
The real stars in the sky.
Yeah, the real stars in the sky.
Yeah.
Whether that is something that I can do while I'm alive, or if it's like a project that continues after I'm alive and it keeps doing something. But to create something beautiful, something of that scale would be really nice.
That sounds crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I can only imagine what that could look like, but I'm sure it's very different in your head.
That. Just because of sheer scale.
Yeah.
And, like, I don't know, getting moving it to this position might take, 3 million years. I don't know. But to just imagine something of that scale is really exciting.
Have you ever, I'm sure you're aware of Aurora Borealis, the Northern Lights. Have you ever had a chance to?
I've actually never seen it in real life.
Does that interest you at all?
Oh, absolutely.
Man, that's one of those things I feel like before a bucket list for me. I got to see that, man.
There's been a couple places that I've wanted to go, igloo and just snow and ice caves and stuff. Yeah.
Word.
Something where I do something that's that big of a scale. Wow. I think is exciting.
The real Dancing with the Stars.
Hey.
You heard it here, folks. I'm here all day. If you can't dance anymore physically, what are you doing?
Same thing I'm doing right now. Just
same thing you're doing right now. I should have known.
Weird ideas, and the only difference is rather than me trying out, I'll just be here and be like, "Hey, can you do this?" Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's like it works up here. Just physically, you got to do it.
Yeah.
Love it. Here's a fun one. Who would play you in the movie about your life?
Oh God. I don't know. I mean, any actors that was on Crazy Rich Asians, I guess.
Anybody in the Crazy
Any of them would work, I guess. Just need to put like a little extension on, and it's like,
I was not expecting
pretty much
that.
The same.
I was not. I was thinking like maybe a Jim Carrey, or it's like anyone in Crazy Rich Asians.
Any of them.
They look pretty close.
Sound the same, look the same.
I'll take it. I'll take it. If you had to write a book, what would it be about?
I actually really want to. Yeah. Not too many words. Kind of like my interest in children's book. A lot more visual stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm really actually keen and interested in producing books that could possibly open up perspectives for kids at a young age, because I really think a lot of the arguments that we have nowadays come from not being able to see, even with couples arguments or whatever, it comes from not being able to understand the other side's perspective.
Sure.
And even with religion or race or different stuff, if you fully get to understand the other person's side, I think we would have a lot more understanding of each other, and we can use that energy that we're wasting on that to advance ourselves, you know? So I feel like that will be a definite life goal, possibly, honestly, really in the near future that I want to do. Yeah.
That's dope. What is your worst fear?
Ooh, worst fear... I think it's a combination between not being able to think anymore, because I think I define my existence because I can think, and probably death in itself. Yeah. I definitely, death is a double side though. I feel like because of the fear, I have such motivation to try to not take life for granted and live it to its fullest. Like, I'm going to live until I'm 100. I'm going to just do the best I can, you know, because dying is just something you can't avoid. It's just, it will happen to everyone. Right. I think the sooner you get to understand that, you get to focus on the important stuff and the stuff that you can control. So it's like it's a fear and a reason that I am the way I am.
If you were to have a regret, not saying that you do, what would that be?
A regret. I'm sure if I dig in, I probably have a ton, but I think I operate in a way that I would try to understand it in a different way. It's like, oh, you can't really change it, so let's apply it to the future.
Sure.
Kind of thing. Yeah.
That's dope. What is your superpower?
What is my superpower? to continuously think that I suck.
That's your superpower.
That's my superpower.
I'm great at thinking that I suck. No one's better at that than I am.
Wait. Wow, yeah, I think so.
Honestly, I'll take it, man. I'll take it. If that's what you think it is, I believe you, man. Because if that's what you possess, and you're able to be, oh no, you're good. But if you're able to operate and think the way that you think, I would say that is a superpower.
Yeah.
Okay. Less of, more of. What would you want to see less of in the world, and what would you want to see more of in the world?
I want to see less complaining. And more results.
More results.
Less
complaining, more results.
In however way, shape, or form that could be. But I feel like, because when you complain a little bit, that energy gets wasted because you're satisfied. Yeah. But I feel, I don't know, it's just such a shame. And I feel like as a human being, we have to keep that balance, obviously.
Yeah.
But a part of me always thinks like, oh, if you had saved that, and instead of shouting or punching the wall, imagine if you were able to express that in a different way. And if you, not that one person, but a whole group or whole community, whole country, like if you can use that power, what greatness we can achieve, Not even in the arts, if that energy's towards science, like how much we can achieve,
Yeah, it's good. I love that. What would you say your golden rule is, your life mantra?
My life mantra, kind of like what I talked about with fear, but memento mori. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, but never forget death is always been my thing. And it's, and again, it's not a sad thing at all. It's understanding the beginning and the end, and then trying to see how you can fill it up. That's it, And you can imagine and you can think of all these things, but at the end of the day, well, we are going to eventually be gone, But it's like it's up to you to be sad about it and say, oh, we can't do anything, or you can be like, okay, I'm 35. Let's say up to 100. I have 65 more years. What the hell can I do within that time frame? And I think that's just a thing that constantly shouts at me in the back of my brain. Yeah.
It's incredible, man. Yo, Hawk, man, I gotta say, dude, talking to you is it's one really fun, and I think the reason why I'm having this good time is because it's your energy, but it's more than, people can have good energy. People can be positive. People can be, enthusiastic. But I think there's so much of a deeper rootedness where I feel like it's coming from with you, and through our interactions over the years, just through the the scene that we're in, whether it's working on a show together, like you can only get so much from somebody's interaction because you're there doing a task. Like, we're here to dance, we're here to judge, we're here to perform, whatever it is, right? Like, but your mentality, and I'm understanding, like, taking it even all the way back to the way that you were as a kid growing up, to how you realize I'm different, but my difference is not bad and it's not a handicap. It's actually great. And it's actually making me unique. It's actually giving me different perspective. It's actually allowing me to look at, I wonder how this person perceives something, because maybe there's something for me to learn about that. And the way that you know, are you talking about creating and where you're finding your inspirations from? And I think what I'm getting from you, even like, you know, as you're talking about death, like, yeah, it's inevitable. We're all going to die and it terrifies me. But do I let the, you know, the fact that it's going to happen make me sad and think of like, oh, wow, life just sucks because everyone's just going to die. So what's the point? It's a choice. As you said, you could choose to see it from that perspective, you know. And I once, you know, heard that, you know, on a tombstone, you see a number and a number, but the most important thing between those things is that dash, that dash between the time that you're born to the time that you left. But that dash is, what did you do in between, you know? And I think that's what I see. You look at that dash as like this infinite possibilities of, I can do anything I want. And, you know, the perspective of like this herniated disc of like, now the sky's beautiful because I'm looking at it. Like, look at what you're able to do. You're taking like this health, you know, this physical pain that you're like, anyone in that position could be like, well, this sucks because now I can't do this because of that. And now I can't do this. But you're like, now I'm gaining all kinds of perspective. My posture's better. You know, like, you're finding the yes. You're finding the yeses on all these scenarios. And I think that is so consistent in the way that you talk, in the way that you create, to the way that I know you will push out amazing, you know, art and all that stuff even to come, you know, in the future. But I think just you as a person, man, and I think that's something that we don't give enough attention to in, you know, our world. We're so good at praising the achievements and I can't believe you made this thing that was so entertaining, but it's just like, yo, you as a person, like, you are valuable to the world around you because of how you think and the energy you put out and the words that you say. So, and essentially that's what I love having a platform like this, is so that people get to understand the person, what makes you tick, what makes you think the way you think, why do you think this way, what have you experienced that may have helped shape you to become this way, and then how do you want to move forward, you know, going on from here. So, man, there's so much value and knowledge and wisdom and inspiration coming from that side of the room, man. So I appreciate it, man. So thank you for sharing that.
Of course.
Sharing that. So what can we expect next? Anything exciting going on in your world, or anything you want to kind of talk about?
I will be showcasing another thing at a gallery pretty soon. So I'm sure I'll post it on my socials and stuff. We're gonna start producing stuff together, myself and Philip. I'm not sure how soon or what platform it will be accessible on, but I can promise you that it will be a combination of our skills and what we strive to do. It's just like the next next phase of like how we're gonna push it. So I think it's always and constantly always blurry, but very exciting.
Love it, man. Speaking of the journey, how can people follow you? Where are you at in your socials and all that stuff?
I mainly just use my IG, but it's at Hok, HOK, really simple. So I'll usually put weird stuff out. But hit me up.
That's what's up, man. Thank you again for coming out here. First pod in the complex. And guys, thank you so much for listening and or watching. Many more episodes before this one. This is episode 80. So we're well into our second year now. It's 2020. We're in a new space. So thank you guys for listening. If this is valuable, entertaining, anything that you find cool, all we ask that you do is share it. Take a screenshot of you listening to it on whatever, app, whether it's iTunes, Spotify. We're on all the streaming podcast platforms. Let us know what we're doing well. Let us know what you're digging about the episodes. Hop into your podcast app. Leave us a 5-star rating if this is good. That stuff helps us get visibility. Leave us a review. You could just say hi, or you could write us a novel. We'll read all of it. That stuff's very helpful to help us make this show get better. And all the notes, kinjaz.com/podcast. Follow us on IG, Kinjaz Podcast, cast with a K. We're on Twitter, same name. We're on Facebook if you guys still use that. I think that's about it. Thank you guys for listening. We'll catch you guys next time. Peace.